Hey everyone, it's been a while. Welcome back to the experience and welcome to my new friend, Dave Joynes. He's also a DJ, and I'll have him tell you all about that. But you're going to be on a ride with us to explore his fabulous life and his incredible wisdom. And this is how it's done. When you want to have a cool conversation with a cool person, I'm telling you, this is how it's done. So welcome, Dave.
Hey, Nora, glad to be here. Excited, ready to go.
Awesome. Well, me too. So Dave and I were connected by an artist friend of mine and someone that I'm working with who is a photographer. And I was asking about somebody who knows about events, and she connected me with you. And the reason I wanted to learn about events is I've just done a few things here and there with my business, but I just want to learn about it. I'm fascinated about what it takes to put something like that on. And then you called me, totally like didn't know me from anyone, and was totally sweet to give your time to me. And then I found out what you do. So I want you to explain what you do. And I just want to explore that for a little bit and then just ride on that. So
Okay,
tell us what you
okay.
do. Yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, big shout out to Wendy. Yeah, she's definitely the one that connected us both. So big shout out to her. And yes, as far as what I do, yes, I mean you said it right. I do a vast number of things. But if you could sum it all up into one thing, um, I would really just say that I'm an event marketing specialist. So when that comes down to everything from I started in the business doing live events and DJing, and then started promoting my own events, to started promoting other events, to when you look at my calendar for a year. It's funny, my wife, she just said, I need all of the dates that you have for the entire year so that way we can plan some vacations. And I just thought about it like, well, yes, I can actually give that to you because every year, that's really what I do. I plan events. I help others with their events. So, that's just, the space that I'm in and the space that I've been in for, coming up close to 20 years now.
Wow. Well, and you have a baby face. I mean, not in an insulting way, but like you're
I
so
appreciate that.
young.
I'll
You're
take the compliment.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think it's fun to hear you explain what you do because of course you're so much more than all of that, but you're also a DJ. So to me, a DJ is an artist, but then you help work with people who want to put on events, but that in and of itself is supportive of these people that you're helping do events. So say a little bit more about like who you do events for.
Okay. Well, and just to even take it a step further, I've gotten to the point where I realized that, and this is just my opinion, everything that anyone does in life is an event. Like literally
I
from
love that.
waking up in the morning to driving to work to planning dinner to all of that, like it's an event. And what I mean by that is that there is a step-by-step process from getting to the beginning to the end of it. And and I think it would help people more is because sometimes people become overwhelmed with the things that they have to do in life. So it's like planning an event. It's so many things that you have to do. And but the key about it is focusing on the end, which would be the end goal, how you want the event to come out, and then going backwards from there and just breaking it down into like micro mini steps. So it's just like if you have to cook dinner, okay, it may seem like an overwhelming task, but if you say, well, okay, here's the meal that I want. Okay, these are the ingredients I got. Let me get the recipes. Let me do the prep, all of that. So, I just take that event mind frame into everything that I just do in life. And when I help people with that, and your question was, a little bit more of like who I help, really it's mainly focused on other creatives. So,
Mm-hmm.
and under the umbrella of creatives, that would be artists, that would be musicians, that would be DJs, that would be entrepreneurs, that would be my kids, that would be my family members, just whoever is trying to come up with something, or or see something from beginning to end. I'm always kind of there to help, whether it's something I'm doing for a monetary reason or it's just something I do just for the fun of it. It's just, I've always been fascinated with events ever since I was young. So,
I want to hear about that. Like when you were little, and were you in LA when you were little? Were you born in California?
No, so I'm originally from Maryland. So I'm originally from Baltimore,
Oh,
Maryland.
that's right. That's right. Uh-huh. So yeah, you're
Yes.
from, and so when you were a little one, like
Mm-hmm.
let's just go back to that time where you were little
Mm-hmm.
and you were fascinated with events. Like how did that come up? How did that show up in your life?
Well, I'll give you a perfect example, because right now is we're coming up on Super Bowl time,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad would throw a big Super Bowl party every year where he'd invite his friends and family and stuff, and they would all come to the house, and it would be this big Super Bowl gathering. So as a youngster, I would just kind of watch it happen. But then one year, I decided, like, how can I help? How can I be a part of it? So, like, I literally turned it from just a regular, family function to, actually setting everything up, from the music and the invitations, the videography. I had one of those old school cameras, so I was filming, getting footage, so that way I could do my recap after the event.
Oh,
My
how old
mom
were
still
you when you
had,
started doing that?
oh my gosh, probably as old as I can remember. Maybe I was like 8 or 9 years old when I started doing that. And shout out to my mom. She still has all the tapes. She reminds me every time I go back home. I don't even
Aw.
want to watch it. Sometimes I cringe.
Oh, but I could
But,
see, I mean, you as a dad know like how endearing that is for a parent to see their kid in their element. And, and you and I have talked about the law of attraction. And I think it's an interesting conversation to have, because I think there are some people who don't necessarily believe that the law of attraction is something that works in the way that it's often discussed. And the way I think about it is it's a felt experience. Like life is totally vibration. And when you're 8 or 9 years old and it just excites you to participate in a way and bring up the level of the party, it sounds like you're like, okay, I'm gonna, like, you clearly are a detail oriented person. Like you're like, the invitations have to go out, and and I want to have footage of this experience. Like there, it gives a lot. It's telling as to the kind of person that you already were. And so to me, and I work with people who are trying in a way to get back to who they truly are meant to be, like who they came to the planet to be, and what is it that helps them to do that, helps them to connect with that. And do you ever feel like you were ever separate from that, or do you feel like you've always been connected to who you've come to the planet to be?
that's a very good question. And honestly, Nora, it's a everyday struggle for me, to be honest. Like, I have to literally remind myself, you know, what it is that I'm here to do, what it is, the purpose, like every day. Like, I get up early in the morning, and I don't, people say meditate and everything, and I may not meditate in the way that everybody would imagine you meditating, like sitting still and being quiet. But I mean, I go through my thoughts, and I go through, okay, what is it I want to accomplish today? Does it align with, who I am? Like, that's something that, I don't think I've gotten away from it for like a long period of time, where like
Mm-hmm.
people may have gone years, because like, I've been blessed to, I've been working in my dream like ever since I graduated from high school.
That's
So I've
incredible. That's
been
huge.
blessed.
Yeah.
Yes. But even still, even through that, like, I still go through certain points where, there's certain aspects of the business that, of course, I don't enjoy. Everything is not a cakewalk, but I have to remind myself that, okay, maybe I have to take the time and do the things that need to get done so I can spend more time doing the things I love doing,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe to hell with these things, they're not really that important because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't align with me, which doesn't align with everything else that's going on. So literally it's a daily process for me to make sure I get back to that.
So what is your most favorite thing about, because I can't imagine, I mean, I've put on events like, you know, when you put it into context of like everything in your life is an event, well, it's like, okay, I'm much more capable in events than I, you know, gave myself credit for. I mean, my husband and I put on our wedding in San Francisco for under $10,000, which is actually a huge deal. And everybody had fun. Um, and I just think about what it, I mean, I can't even imagine what it would take to like put on a large scale event. Tell me about like, so I mean, I guess what I'm wondering, just sort of in terms of like your soul being here and then expressing yourself through your work, where do you find your sweet spot? Where do you find that you're doing what it is that you really love to do?
That's a very good question too, because you know I love all aspects of it, but there are times where I think that the times where I really enjoy it the most is when I'm still, like, for example, like sitting on an airplane on my way to the venue. And like, there's nothing else I can do. The Wi-Fi might be down. There's nothing I can look at. There's nobody I can be distracted. I might be sitting next to a stranger, somebody I don't know, but then I could just sit there and just kind of reflect and say, wow, like this is real. Like I'm actually on my way to wherever I am. This is about to happen. This is exciting. That moment of reflection, kind of like right before the event is going to
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the event, like right after the event, like the recap of
Mm-hmm.
everything that happened and the memories that were made during that time. I think those are the times where I feel it the most. But what I'm looking to get to is being more in the moment. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in the moment, it's like I forget what's important because there's so much going on and so much you're thinking, you're running around and you're doing all this. But really, you know, the only thing that exists is the now. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes after it's over, I'll look back and I'll think, dang, I wish I would have spent more time talking to this person, or I wish I would have reminded this person how much I appreciate them. So those kind of things is where my growth would be, is to learning how to, you know, enjoy the moment more. But
Mm-hmm.
those would be the aspects that I like the most.
I mean, that's true mastery, right? Like when you can get to a place, whatever you're doing, and just be in the moment to where you're free of all other thoughts and you're just in that flow, right? And I would
Mm-hmm.
imagine that, I mean, I think about like what it would take, like how many pieces would it take to put on a large scale event? I mean, I have no clue, but I can imagine that just in my mind that there's like a path that is like struggle and like angsty, and then, you know, and then maybe a middle of the road, and then maybe there's this like quantum expressions of it, right? Like is there that visual that we can drop into where it's like each step of the way from start to finish it is just like flow and it's joyful, and it's like this is dropping in magically, this is dropping in magically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that sounds like a dream. That's
Are there events where it's been more like that for you than others?
well, you know, I think it's just all based on individual's perspective of it,
Mm-hmm.
because like if I
Mm-hmm.
were to think back to, like, you know, something that I thought was stressful 10 years ago, it doesn't seem nearly as stressful as what I'm dealing with now. So it's
Uh-huh.
like when you're in that moment, you may not feel that flow. But then, like I said before, sometimes when you take that step back and you think and reflect, it's like, okay, you know, really that was easy. Everything lined up perfectly. And, you know, and I think about that all the time because like I've experimented with like different things as far as like starting an event and doing it within like 2 weeks, like a quick thing, or taking 6 months to plan an event. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I've noticed that's always the same, whether you take 6 months to plan it, whether you take 2 weeks to plan it, that night before or the day of, you're still kind of going to be feeling that same kind of way, just because it's here, it's now, it's coming, and your mind's going 100 different ways and stuff like that. But one thing that I've learned to do is just to, accept all challenges and kind of flow with it. Like we've had situations in the past where we've had an event, and then we had tickets lined up, people planning to come and everything. And then for whatever reason, the venue called us the night before and said, "Hey, we're sorry, we can't have this event here." No explanation, nothing.
Oh my
So,
God.
and I give kudos to my business partner. His name is Don. He's the one that always, kind of just taught me, is like, hey, whatever happens, happens. If they cancel the event, that's fine. There's plenty of other venues around here. Somebody will give us space. And that's literally what we did. Like we had to go into a whole nother city that we didn't know, went in the night before and went place to place, found a venue, then had to send a message out to all the people to let them know. And this was before where everybody was on their phones and stuff like that. This was where we had to literally like we couldn't just send a text blast. We had to pick up the phone and call people, put signs up at the old venue. It was a mess. So it wasn't fun at the time, but then the reflection afterwards was like, wow, we really did that. Like we really actually made that happen.
Yeah, it's
So.
sort of like when all of the adrenaline kicks in and it's like we just got to make this happen. And you could have like shut down or like said screw it, but you didn't. I mean, it probably would have been a real stressor for everybody. I mean, the consequences of that might have been really intense, but you stuck with it. And I just contemplate, I just wonder, is it possible in each moment, and I believe that it is, not that it's easy to do this, is it
Mhm.
possible to find the joy in it and like have a good time, like Abraham Hicks talks about, um you know like it's all meant for our enjoyment, like on a soul level. Like, presuming that is so, how do we in this human reality shift gears to that place?
Well, now that you say that, and just me thinking of it right now, what I think the only way to do that is to change your expectations. And maybe we shouldn't expect that everything is just going to flow and going to go perfect. Maybe we should
Yeah.
accept the valleys and peaks and the dips, and in the same way we accept the normal dualities of life, where we know that, okay, it's day right now, it's going to get dark, but we
Mm-hmm.
know eventually the sun's going to come out. It may be
Mm-hmm.
cloudy tomorrow, but it's not the end of the world. The sun will come back out. Just the normal things that happen in life. Like if we just accept that,
Mm-hmm.
and we accept that going into, like, so going back to planning an event, we know, okay, something's going to happen that's not going to be perfect, but it will be perfect because we're going to be equipped to be able to handle it no matter what it is. And then I think from that perspective, then once you see something that quote unquote bad happens, it's just up, oh, there it goes. We knew
Yeah,
this was gonna.
we yeah.
Yeah, and you accept it as more of a challenge as opposed to a problem.
I love it. And one of the things that I also think about is you are an artist too. I mean, you could even say that your artistry is in creating these events, but you're also an artist. You're a DJ. And I want to, I'm very curious about the artistic process and how people optimize that experience and how to sort of be in the full flow of our artistic expression. And I wonder if when you're performing, if
Mm-hmm.
you feel like if that feels somehow different to you than when you're doing an event.
That's a great question. I wouldn't say that it feels different, from being a DJ or putting on an event.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it feels different when I'm, connecting with others in the audience as opposed to when I'm, alone planning and getting ready for
Ah,
it.
oh, the
So
connection.
that's where the difference comes in. To give you an example, is like when I DJ, I don't plan any of my sets. I've gotten to the point where I understand.
Really? That's unusual, right? Sorry, I thought I ran something over in my wheelie chair. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. But no, I don't plan any of my sets. Of course, I think about what I'm going to play, and I think about the audience and who's going to be there. But I've tried it before. I said, okay, I'm going to plan my set. All right, I'm gonna start with this song. I'm gonna go with that song. I'm gonna go with this song, and I'm gonna go with that song. And when I went out there with that mind frame, and I just said, all right, I'm just gonna go with my playlist. I didn't get the reaction from the crowd and from the audience that I had hoped I would, because no matter what you can imagine and plan in your head by yourself, you never know when you get out there in front of the audience what the vibe's going to be. You don't know who might have played before you. You don't know the energy going in. You don't know what kind of day people had. You don't know what kind of current events that's going on. It's so many variables that could happen. So now I know, okay, I got an event coming up. I'm not going to plan my set at all. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
have everything that I need, but I have no clue what the first song is once I get out there. But then that's when it just hits me with the flow, is where I get out there and I literally kind of feel the crowd and feel the energy. And I'm like, okay, let me start with this. And then sometimes the first song that I play may not be the one, and I'll go to another one. But it's like once I hit that one type of song, then it's like over from there. I could go on for hours and hours, because it's like music is just, it's so interesting. Like when you really listen to songs and you hear how they relate to each other, like it's literally almost like a story where you can start from here, then you can go here, you can build up to here, then you can take people on a journey over there. So that's how I like to do it as far as DJing. And then I try to bring that same energy, like if I'm not DJing, just to the planning side of an event, and
Mm-hmm.
just saying, okay, we can plan and we can be prepared, but you just never know um, exactly step by step how it's going to go till you get there.
Well, it's interesting watching your energy when you explain that, because when you were talking about being a DJ, like your energy changed like really perceptively from my point of view. Like it just felt like your heart just completely opened up and you're beaming. Like it felt like you were at a show watching you. And were you remembering a certain show, or like maybe like a series of different shows where you're just like, maybe you were, I mean, I don't, the energy was palpable to me. And I think what you're saying, when I'm hearing you say what you're saying, to me, it's like, I trust myself. I trust that when I know, like, I trust my intuition so much that I'll know the flow and I'll know what to play. And to me, that is like true creativity, true artistry, because no one else is going to do what you do. Right. And I see that in my own work too, that when I just trust that I don't have to have a session totally mapped out, or this relates to like my speaking in public too, because people will tell you, oh, well, you have to have all that figured out, like if you're going to give a speech or even have it written out. And I have found that whenever I've done that, it's horrible. I mean, from my point of view, it's not at all me. But if I just trust and know in what I'm going to talk about in general, what comes out is like, it's channeled.
It's natural.
Yeah. I may not even remember necessarily what I've said. Do you know what I mean? Like you're
Mm-hmm.
just in that, I'm just in that place of like letting it all flow through. I mean, does that ever happen to you when you're playing, where you're just like, you're so in it that like it's not even like, you're not even really in a conscious thought place, you're just in a like feeling it place, and you're just so in it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the time. it's just a natural flow. It's like hard to even describe. It's like time doesn't exist. You know, like I've gone into gigs just even thinking, oh, I got to play for, like, I think the longest set I might have had was like a 5 hour set. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, I got to play for 5 hours. And it literally, it went by, it felt like it was 5 minutes.
Whoa.
Just like that. And I don't remember what I played. Like you say, you don't remember what you said. I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly what I played. I don't remember what I started with, but I just know once it got into the flow, it's just everything just kind of worked out.
It's got to be so cool to watch people just completely get into your music too. I mean, I can't even, like, where people are just dancing their hearts out. That's got to be so fabulous. That's got to feel terrific.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I really feel like that's what the true love is of it. And in the fact that, so I'm not one of the DJs that actually makes the music. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I play others' music,
Mm-hmm.
and just, you know, seeing, no, and I work with a lot of artists. So just seeing it from beginning to end, where you have an artist that had an idea in their head, they went into this studio, created this masterpiece, and then I hear the song, like a lot of songs I've heard before they even became huge hits. Like, for example,
Wow.
back in '07, the song, I don't know if you remember the song Party Like a Rock Star. The
I don't know. It
Yeah,
sounds
it's
familiar. It sounds
about
like maybe.
yeah.
But
But
so
the
yeah.
guy that produced that track, his name is Pitt. Big shout out to him as well. We were working with him at that time in Atlanta, and I remember him giving me the song and saying, "Hey, I want you to just, you know, check this out. Let me know what you think," because he was giving me all kinds of music and stuff like that, and I listened to it, and I'm not even gonna lie, I liked the song, but I never knew it was gonna be a big mega #1 Billboard hit song. It was like one of the biggest songs in 2007, and but just seeing it go from that moment to, like, I get chill bumps even now just hearing the song and just seeing people moving and dancing to it. It was like, wow, I remember that song from the very beginning. But just being able to watch the crowd like that, I think that's, you know, my flow state, being able to play a song and see how people move and respond to it. It's just, it's a feeling I can't even describe.
I bet. I mean, I've had some experience with these large scale parties. I mean, back in the day in the early 2000s and mid, up until about 2006, I was going to Burning Man every year. And I don't know if you've ever been. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Do you know about it?
I don't.
Oh,
Tell me.
Burning Man. Oh my gosh, you have to check it out. So I won't, I'm sure people are hearing us and know about it or not, but it's a huge festival, arts festival in the middle of the desert in northeastern Nevada. And
Okay.
it's so the last Burning Man, I think there were actually, I don't know, since after COVID because it shut down for the first time. But so when before COVID, there were about 75,000 people. And I think that's what like festival wear emerged out of, because it started in 96, I think. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the things that people create there are incredible. And, all kinds of world famous DJs will fly in because they have like this teeny little airport, and it's in the those car ads where they're like zooming against, like, on the desert, you just see cars, so it looks just like that. So it's a dried up lake bed and it's surrounded by mountains, and it's actually where many of the gold rush era pioneers traveled in their wagon trains through there into the Sierra Nevadas. And so it's very historic land, and the vibe is really potent for just expansion, I think. And the soil is like talcum powder. And so they'll have these like huge whiteouts, and you have to bring literally everything that you need in order to survive, and your shade, because it's super hot in the daytime and cold at night. But these huge DJ setups. I mean, I remember, Paul Oakenfold and I mean, not a DJ, but Joan Baez was there the year I was there. I know a lot of celebrities like drop in there, But what's so cool is it's just, I mean, you should go check it out. The photos are incredible. I'm going to go off on a tangent, but when you see people who are just like dancing their heart out, and there's just true soul just blasting out of their beings, there's something that happens. There's something transformational that happens. And I personally believe that it's true that when consciousness is raised by, you know, a number of people, like in a group, that affects the planet positively, you know?
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
you see that there, like there's so much serendipity that happens in those circumstances. And like, you have so much synchronicity, and that to me is why art is so incredible. And not all art is uplifting, I guess. Some of it is like, you know, like it shifts your emotions, but it has the power to do that.
Mhm.
I want to hear you DJ. I want to that makes me want to go to one of your shows. How often do you DJ?
Well, I honestly don't DJ as much as I used to, and probably not as much as I would love to. I've really gotten into just the business of live events, and I love DJing, but I do feel like the business side of it just fulfills me more
Mm.
because there's so many other lives that I can help and affect by me focusing on the business side, from just my immediate family to, others that work with us or work for us. As a DJ, I kind of feel like, I enjoy it and love it, but it's more of like a self-centered type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I just dropped everything right now and said, hey, I'm just going to be a full-time DJ, I'd be able to survive doing that, and I could bring a few people along with me. But I feel like my purpose is just bigger, and I'm meant to be here to affect like literally hundreds, thousands, if not millions of lives eventually. So just to give you an example, like right now in our intern database, we have well over 2,000 people that are like confirmed interns just all across the country. So whenever we travel and do events, we call people out to come and help and to assist like that. So that to me is more fulfilling. So when we do our events, I may get on and DJ just a little bit for the fun of it. But and then as far as like how often we're doing events, it's gotten to be more of like a quarterly thing. There was a time where we were doing more events almost 2-3 times a month, every month, but we've gotten more into promoting others events. So if you go to our website, we have a website called Too Hot Tickets, toohottickets.com. You can see there's thousands of events on there that we're literally promoting, and we're third party ticket provider for those events. But the events we actually put on ourselves, we stick to those maybe like quarterly, so that way we can really put our energy into it and really make it bigger than life.
I love that. So you say you want to affect more lives, and I'm curious, and I may not even be articulating this question well, but I wonder, like, what's interesting to me about that is like the nitty-gritty of like having one version of yourself that you've contemplated, and it's maybe on a smaller scale than the version that you're going for now. And so I'm just curious about your thought process when, I mean, maybe you've already stated it, but I'm just curious, like when you decide to level up, when you decide to go for a bigger life, what do you feel needs to shift? What inside you, and what have you noticed in your own sort of shifting to a bigger vision? What have you like what happens within you to like motivate that change?
Well, really the what I see that changes honestly is a little bit more external. So, sometimes I may be contemplating on a decision that I want to make, is like, okay, for the next couple of months, do I want to just pursue, DJing locally and kind of just live the more quiet, home life,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not travel as much? And
Mm-hmm.
then, or do I want to, just continue, keep doing what I'm doing and do it big and travel and reach people all over the world? And what I find is that, and then maybe this is just something that I have to learn to work on internally, but I find that it becomes more of a struggle and a challenge the smaller it is, to when I open up and decide to, okay, I need to do this on a bigger scale. I need to call more people. I need to kind of step out of my comfort zone a little bit. Things just seem to flow a little bit easier. Like I'll get
Mm.
that phone call from someone that'll have an idea, and then I might see something on TV that sparks another idea, and it just seems to flow. Where if I just kind of keep it small, I start to feel like this is not going to be easy. This is going to be more of a struggle. So that's kind of that's kind of the feedback loops that I get, and I see, okay, I'm going in the right direction. Because it's just the synchronicity is so crazy. It's like I may be thinking on something and I just can't figure it out. But then as soon as I open up to someone, they'll say the thing that I was thinking, and I'm like, yep, that's right. Then I'll see a billboard as I'm driving that'll mention the same thing, and it just all seems to make sense from there.
I love
So
that. I love that. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people fear, is the opposite that will happen. Like, oh, keeping it safe, keeping it small and contained, like a knowable quantity, but like opening yourself. And I love that you equated opening up to other people too, because like as a man, do you feel like that's easy for you? Because I see that men often struggle with communicating their heart. Like there's this expectation to be like, really stoic. But tell me about that.
well, when I say open up, I'm still kind of reserved to a certain extent, where I don't like to share my true feelings and emotions. But when it comes to an idea or a
Mm.
situation or even
Mm-hmm.
just a conversation, sometimes it's just as simple as just picking up the phone call. And like I've picked up the phone and called somebody on something totally different. Like we may talk about a sporting event or something that
Mm-hmm.
happens,
Mm-hmm.
but then that led to a conversation of me trying to figure out something. So it's almost like say if I was trying to figure out how to do something, and instead of me picking up the phone and who can I call that can help me with this problem, and I call that person and hope that they can solve the problem, it's more of me just opening up and just talking to more people, just having more conversations. And then sometimes things will come out. Like just to give you an example, our company right now, we're looking into doing government contracting, and working with the government is a whole lot different than just working with entertainment businesses and stuff like that. It's whole different sets of paperwork and stuff like that. And there was a lot I was really just trying to figure out on my own. But then as I just, opened up to my business partner, just letting him know, like, just kind of the struggles that I was having. And then he ended up, one of his family members is specifically deals with government contracting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even a situation where he went to that person asking them about, hey, do you know about government contracts, something like that. It's just that because I mentioned it to him, and then he just had conversation with someone, and then they talked about what they were doing, it just kind of naturally flowed and came out.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way that it happened with him, I noticed that just with myself sometimes. If I just open up and talk to more people just about things in general, eventually the answers that I'm looking for will be revealed to me.
I love that. Is that something that you feel like came naturally to you and you've always done that, but you're noticing that the more you do it, the sort of better things unfold? Or is it something that you feel like over time, maybe maturity, you've learned? Because I think this is
Definitely.
a really important message. I think it's great because it's such, like, being an entrepreneur can be so vulnerable, right? Like when you're
Mm-hmm.
out there and you're like, I don't know how to do something, but there's so many things under the sun that you could have questions about. And to have this sort of willingness to get vulnerable in those moments and just go, this is my deal. I don't, this is happening and I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely something that I've learned over time and still learning to get better at, so it's definitely it's not, no, I feel like, they say some people are born to be entrepreneurs and some people aren't. I feel like it can be learned if you have that desire. So
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't go into life knowing that I was going to be an entrepreneur. It just I knew that I didn't want to work for anybody, and I knew that, but I
Did
didn't
you
know what.
learn that through working for people?
Well, yeah, I had one job. I had one job like in high school. I was a pizza. I worked at a Domino's,
Uh-huh.
so I was making the pizzas, answering the phones, and I enjoyed that job. It was fun, but you know I didn't like the not having the freedom of, okay, I don't feel like going into work today,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
that's what drew me to entrepreneurship. Is like, okay, I can create my own schedule. I can do what I want. But the funny thing is I'm working way more now than I was when I was working for somebody else, but I'm
Because you're the
loving every.
boss.
Yep. Yep. But it's definitely over time is just learning, just how to open up more into, because, when I started, I just, I felt like I could do everything myself. And, I'm still learning that. Like, it's like, hey, I got to delegate more. I got to get more people involved because, as an entrepreneur, you feel like you know it all yourself and nobody can do it better than you can do it. So you have that mind frame, but that is the worst mind frame to be in because you'll be literally be stuck. You go at your computer 24/7 and
Well,
it's not.
I mean, it felt like a curse early on in life, but I have a very clear understanding of things that I really suck at. Like, there are so many things that are not my wheelhouse that I've had to just surrender. Like, I don't know how to do this. Like, you have to, I need to be helped with this because I'm just going to be a hot mess otherwise. I mean, it's cool um that you can imagine doing, or that you have had to do everything. And I think as an entrepreneur, you kind of, I get how you have to do a lot. I mean, I have to do everything too, but in terms of like, I don't know, just like there are certain things that I'm like, what, this is way over my head. Like, it feels confusing when the information's going in and I'm not like instantly grasping it. And I would imagine that working with artists too, you probably see all different kinds of levels of capability and capacity when it comes to like how, because I guess when you're an artist, you're your own entrepreneur, right? Like, you're the brand, you're the one, but then you probably have to, I don't know, you could say probably more about it than me. um how is it working with artists?
Well, there's one thing that I wish that artists would understand more, and maybe this is what makes them artists because they have a tough time with this, is when it comes down to the business side of it, most artists just don't have it, or either they ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
They want to focus on the creative side, they want to focus on the music and all of that, but especially that's why you hear so many artists, and I hate to hear it, there's so many stories of artists that will sign these deals and they're just so anxious to sign a deal to get on and to be noticed and be a celebrity, but then years later they find out that they had a bad deal and that they don't own the rights to anything, and
Oh my God,
they
that's devastating to imagine, right? They've worked
yeah.
so hard and then they've got nothing.
Mm-hmm. But if they would have at the time, just really being business minded, and when I say business minded, not even just having a manager and saying, okay, I'm gonna delegate everything to the manager and I'm gonna just focus on the music. Like, if, I think the best artists are the ones that understand that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so, I'm big in the hip hop scene. So the people I think of are like the Jay-Z's and the
Mm-hmm.
50 Cents of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of them are great artists, but then they understood the business side of it at the same time, which allowed them to kind of
The scale.
to scale and take
Yeah.
it to the next level. And I kind of but I understand where they come from because like I say, in a perfect selfish world, I would love to just be a DJ and just totally focus on that. but the business side of it, being able to bridge the two and understand both sides of it is where you can scale up and just take it to the next level. But a lot of artists have a tough time with that. And that's just kind of where the disconnect comes, with working with artists and dealing with artists. I think I can connect a lot better because, I understand and I've been in their shoes. But a lot of times, that's why you hear artists that are arguing with their label and all kinds of,
or getting ripped off by people who work for them.
Yeah. Because it's literally it's two different worlds. But well, that's one thing that we try to do at our company, try to merge the two together. We talk and deal with artists all the time, and we actually have a training program. It's called Elite Membership, where artists come in and we do monthly Zoom calls to teach them about the business, things that they should be working on, things that they should be learning. So that way, eventually they'll grow and, once they graduate somewhere else, go to a label, maybe they'll remember the words we told them about. Look for this in your contract. If you see this, then don't sign, little things like that.
Yeah. Like getting their ducks in a row. I'd imagine that is huge in terms of what can set them up for, for scaling in the future, because I think even the artist mind, I mean, I totally relate because I would consider my mind to be an artist mind, and I totally know those pitfalls and, how you have to, like, it's almost like you can't drive a car without tires, like you need to have those foundational things set up, or else things are just going to go right off the rails. And I would imagine that if a person is starting to get some traction in their popularity, they're starting to get bigger as an artist, and then they don't have it figured out to the degree where they can have it organized, I guess, in a way. I'd imagine there's just huge opportunities for getting fleeced tons of money. Like if they're like raking in money really quickly, and then like they don't have systems set up to handle that, to pay people, and then they have someone who's like, oh sure, I'll handle all your money.
That's what happens. That's what happens all the time, and that's the thing. Like if there's any independent artists that are listening, or, people that are just getting started, like prepare for success before you get there, and that honestly, if you want to go with the law of attraction, that just kind of helps you attract success, because it's like you're already getting in the mind frame of, okay, maybe I don't have a business manager, maybe I don't have a director of marketing, maybe I don't have that, but let me at least in my head or on paper somewhere align that okay, this is what I need. And then as I grow, I can start filling in the pieces and start delegating and stuff like that. Like you have to prepare for that moment, because otherwise the moment's just going to show up and you're not going to be ready for it. And it's just going to what happens. Like I've seen that time and time again too. I'm not going to name any names on this one, but like I've seen artists that have, literally become one-hit wonders just because they weren't ready at the time and they just didn't know what to do. Because it's like once you become, it happens so fast. Like I've seen it, you go from being a no-name artist to your song blows up, and even faster now with social media. Like before, it was at least, with radio, it'd be at least a 6 to 8 week campaign and you can see the song growing. But literally,
it's still insanely short period of time, but now it could be literally overnight.
Literally overnight. Me and you could right now go make a song and put it up on TikTok, and in 2 days it could be all over the world, all over the country. And if we're not prepared for that, if we're artists, we're not prepared for that kind of stuff. We don't have people in place that are like, okay, I can't pay you now, but once I make it, I need you to be there for me. Like if you don't have all that already set, you're not going to be able to last or sustain success.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, when I work with people, sometimes I work with them on their success mindset, and I can see it. It's like people are limited by their perception of what they're familiar with. But it's like, if you're going to get bigger, if you're going to scale to the degree that you say you want, speaking of an artist, I mean, I love rock and roll. I read Keith Richards' autobiography, and it's striking to me because of how they fought, like the law of attraction worked perfectly for the Rolling Stones, and I think the Beatles too. And the way that they worked was they just wanted to create a sound. Like, they were in post World War II London, which got totally bombed out, during World War II. And they just wanted to make music, and they had heard, blues from the United States, and they were trying to emulate that sound. And that's what all they were doing. And they were like 20, 19, 20-year-olds that were just trying, they lived in a little crappy little place and were just trying to make this sound. And they were going to shows and playing just so often. Like, that was their purpose. That was their priority. And so before they knew it, they were just completely world famous. And so law of attraction, it would be interesting to follow sort of how these TikTok famous kids, like what their sort of thought process is. But in law of attraction, what Abraham Hicks says is, if your vibration isn't able to sustain it, it's not going to hold, right? Like, so, and I would say that getting your energy aligned to position yourself to whatever is next, and that mindset that you were talking about earlier, which is like, I got to be able to anticipate anything, right? Like, instead of, because I even know as a parent, like the most stressed out I am as a parent is when I have an expectation that things are going to go one way, and then they get, you have to abort mission and go completely the opposite way. And it's like, if I have no expectation and I'm just open, or I know it's going to go well, then it's a completely different situation. But I think like that sort of scaling, what it must be like, because not only are you getting your music, or your, like, if you're an actor or whatever, you're getting famous overnight, people think they know you. They think they can touch you or take pictures of you. Like, suddenly you're this personality that is no longer private. Like, I'd imagine that space of being like a private citizen to being a public figure must be such like a huge transformation. Like, it's gotta be something that, if you're not on solid footing mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, that could be completely derailing as well. Have you seen that in your own work? Like, people who are like witnessing it, like people doing it well versus people who are like really struggling with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I will say too is, like, I know I said before, like how people can blow up overnight, but I will say this: more often than not, when people blow up overnight, it really wasn't overnight. It's just that it may seem overnight because now the world is seeing what they already have been doing at a small scale. So
Right.
I think the ones that are most able to handle that success are the ones that they might have been like most popular person in high school. They may have already built a following in their community. They already have kind of used to being a public figure on a small scale, to where now it's just, it's multiplied, and it's a lot easier to graduate from that than just to being this person that really didn't, wasn't really known by hardly anyone, to all of a sudden become super famous. So,
Yeah.
but I think that more often than not, that it isn't something that happens overnight. It's really, a lot of times it's just a progression of things, because you have like even the biggest like YouTubers like Mr. Beast. He was making videos forever that really weren't hitting traction. Then he got to a certain point where it did, and then it just grew and just blew up and blew up
Then
from
everybody
there.
knew him. And isn't he from North Carolina?
Yeah, he is. He is from North Carolina. Yeah, but if you go back and look at like his first, like it's still up there on his channel. You look at his first video, you can just see the difference and then see the growth over time, how it just grew. So the majority of the world might only know him now who he is. Oh, this big Mr. Beast, but he was putting in that work and planning from
And
years
honing
going.
it. He was honing it too. Like he was continuously. So interesting. Well, so where like let's get really dreamy and big picture. Like, would you
Okay.
mind sharing where you feel like you want to head in your life?
Yeah, sure. I really I love everything that I'm doing, and I really just kind of want to multiply and magnify everything I'm doing on a bigger scale. So it's like, I don't have any, I mean, I have a lot of dreams and things that I want to do, but as far as just overall with my life, the life that I'm living, I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. But what I want to do is I just want to be able, like I said before, just to help more people,
Mm.
so I want to be able to have my entire family retired from their jobs and working and doing what I'm doing if they want to, or
Mm-hmm,
either,
mm-hmm,
me helping to invest into what their dreams are and
mm.
doing what they want to do. That's where I see, watching my kids grow. I want to still be, no matter what I'm doing, I want to make sure I'm there in their lives every day. So it's really about just, seeing everything just grow and just take it to the next level. But I know one of the things that I really want to do is just one of my favorite shows is Shark Tank. So
Mm-hmm.
I love watching Shark Tank, and I kind of feel like it's kind of like the business version of what I've been doing, is like taking people in the music side and like helping them grow and getting their career to the next level. I want to do
Mm.
that more with other business owners and to invest in other companies and see them grow. And so that's kind of like the direction that I want to head into.
I love it. I love it. I'd imagine that when you work with people, they must love working with you too.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I don't think it's
Oh,
me. I
toot
think
it.
no, I think it's more of a situation is that you know, when you become interested in what other people are doing and you figure out how the two aligns together, then it's a situation that it works out for both parties. Like I never feel like I have to like sell anything, or I don't feel like I have to convince, or like even with hiring, like I don't know how all these companies talk about they can't find people to hire. It's like maybe you guys need to change your culture, because I have like hundreds of people every day coming ready to work for me and excited and stuff like that. And it's like I have to literally turn people down. But I think it's just more of, when people come in and interview with us, like the questions we ask is like, all right, where do you want to go in life? What do you
Mm.
want to do? What are your dreams? What are your goals and stuff like that? Okay, well, this is what we're doing. Does that align with what you're doing? And they're like, yes, that's perfect. Then it makes sense. Otherwise, it's like, we don't want people that are just around just because they're trying to get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing that I bring to the table along with my business partner in our company, is like we always have tried to find a way to align what we want to do with
Mm-hmm.
what other people want as well, and
I
it just works.
love that. I love that because it just sounds like you're helping people be a part of a dream team.
Yeah, that's a
That
good way to.
is, that's so awesome. I mean, not very few people I think can say that about workers and people who they bring on board. And I think it's a really stark reality right now where people are like, we can't get people to work for us, and you're like, I'm turning people away.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I love that you're altruistic in how you are built, like you're getting bigger and you're taking all of these other people with you. Are there certain kinds of events that you want to do more than others? Are there certain scales of events that you want to do, or do you want to just continue to do across the board all different kinds of things?
Oh, well, yeah, I definitely I want to help more businesses, create their own events and create their own I would say not even just physical events, but just, promotions in general. Because a lot of things that I've learned about business is, it's a lot easier and faster to like acquire new customers at an event or
Mhm.
doing some type of promotion. So that's one thing that I've gotten real used to doing. So I really want to start helping other businesses create their own like meet and greets and their own functions and stuff like that, and really getting into them and then teach them some of the things I've learned from putting on large scale events and help them apply that to whatever event they want to create. Because I mean, everybody's not going to want to do a big concert, big
Right.
huge sporting event, stuff like that. But there's things you can learn from that you could apply into, a smaller scale event or whatever it is, that you're doing. So, I want to definitely do that, and, more one-on-one time with entrepreneurs as well. Because I like doing that where they come and, we sit down together, they might pick my brain and I might pick their brain on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So, I definitely want to do more of that. But like I said, it's really just about kind of just scaling up what I'm doing and keeping it going.
You're on the flow. Well, thank you so much, Dave, for sharing your world with us. And I'd love to have you back. And do you have anything that you want to share last minute? Your website for your tickets are twohottickets.com, and I'll put that for sure in the description box. Do you have anything else that you want to share before we close it up?
Yeah, definitely. So our main website, actually the main company is called Two Hot Radio. So the website is twohotradio.com. That's the number two, hotradio.com. So you'll be able to get to the ticket site from there and see whatever it else that we have going on. But
Awesome.
one thing I just want to thank you, Nora. I really enjoyed this. Look how fast time went by. I didn't even
I
realize an hour.
know, Zoom.
So,
Well,
thank
I
you.
mean, you're gonna be on more because I think you have a lot of important information to share. And yeah, and I invite anyone who wants to connect or has questions to please ask questions. And if you have suggestions about more things that you want to hear about, let me know. And until then, have a fabulous day. Thanks,
All
Dave.
right. Yep, you got it.